All right, so we're diving into A Real Pain today.
Okay.
This critically acclaimed film, the one with the two cousins going on that Jewish heritage tour through Poland.
Oh, yeah. I've heard good things.
It's gotten a lot of buzz. And we're looking at this movie review that really digs into, how it blends comedy and drama.
Oh, wow.
Especially with, tackling some really heavy themes like generational trauma and the Holocaust.
Yeah, those are some pretty weighty topics for a comedy drama.
Right. So ready to kind of unpack all that.
Yeah, let's get into it.
So the review really focuses on how A Real Pain uses dark humor, to handle these sensitive subjects.
Right. It's definitely a delicate balancing act.
Totally. And at the heart of it, we have these two cousins.
Yep.
David, played by Jesse Eisenberg, who also wrote and directed it, and then Benji, played by Kieran Culkin.
Oh, interesting.
They're on this heritage tour to honor their grandmother, who was a Holocaust survivor.
Right.
But their personalities clash in a way that, creates some really interesting and funny moments.
Oh, I bet.
The review highlights how different their approaches are to dealing with their family history. Like David, the ad salesman, he seems almost detached.
Yeah.
While Benji, who's, dealing with a recent suicide attempt,
Oh, wow.
he uses this almost manic energy as a shield.
I see.
Like he's deflecting.
Makes sense.
And speaking of Benji, the review raves about Culkin's performance.
Really?
Calls it career-defining, even comparing it to his role as Roman Roy in Succession.
Oh, wow. So it must be good.
But with even more depth. What did you think of his portrayal?
Culkin definitely brings that chaotic energy, but there's also this, vulnerability under the surface that I think makes him really compelling.
Yeah.
He's not just there for laughs, he's dealing with real pain.
It makes you think about those outbursts, like the one the review mentions where he just melts down on the train because he can't get first-class seats.
During a Holocaust tour.
Yeah, exactly, that one.
Oh, jeez.
Are those, more than just bad behavior?
I think so. The review suggests that it's, a kind of defense mechanism, a way to avoid confronting the emotional weight of his past.
His family's past.
Yeah, and his own personal struggles, too.
Which brings us to the film's overall tone.
Yeah.
How does Eisenberg blend humor, especially dark humor, with such a sensitive subject matter?
He does it really well, I think. He finds these moments of levity, but without diminishing the seriousness of the history,
Yeah.
Like in that train scene, it's funny on the surface, but it also shows us Benji's complicated relationship with his heritage.
Right.
It makes you think about how you would react in that situation.
Yeah, it makes you think.
For sure.
The review also talks about Eisenberg's use of Chopin's music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to kind of underscore the film's emotional impact.
Interesting.
Especially with the movie being set in Poland.
That stood out to me, too.
Did it?
Yeah, the way Chopin's music often has this melancholic feel to it. It adds this whole other level of emotional depth, especially given its ties to Polish history and culture.
Right.
It's like the music itself is carrying the weight of the past,
That's a really interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
So Eisenberg is being very intentional with each element of the film,
Right.
The casting, the setting, the music. But the review does mention some criticisms.
Oh, really? Yeah. Like what?
Well, it points out that the pacing can feel uneven sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Especially during those quieter moments.
I see.
And it also suggests that some viewers might find Benji's character a little over the top. Even grating at times.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, while Culkin's performance is mostly praised, there's a chance not everyone will connect with Benji and his brand of chaos.
His particular land of chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even with those potential drawbacks, the review ultimately leans positive.
Okay.
Praising the film's authenticity, and especially its portrayal of Poland.
Yeah.
And the emotional impact of the setting.
The setting is so important.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we can't forget Eisenberg's writing.
Oh, right.
The review specifically highlights this scene where the cousins have a confrontation on a rooftop.
Oh, wow.
After smoking marijuana.
Okay.
And apparently the dialogue is really raw and revealing.
It's in those moments,
Yeah.
characters are stripped bare emotionally and physically, that we really see the complexities of their relationship. It's like a glimpse into all that unspoken history and pain that's just beneath the surface.
So this rooftop scene is like a pivotal moment then.
I think so, definitely. Yeah. It's where their individual journeys intersect with their family and their heritage.
So we've got incredible performances, a thought-provoking mix of humor and drama, and a setting that really adds to the emotional depth.
Yeah.
What else does this review highlight?
Well, it goes into the bigger themes that A Real Pain explores.
Like what?
Like generational trauma, how we cope with the pain of the past, especially when it's not our direct experience.
Yeah, it's something we've inherited.
Exactly. And how do we deal with our own struggles while acknowledging the suffering of our ancestors?
Right. It's a lot to unpack.
It is. The film seems to be asking, how much of who we are is shaped by the past?
Yeah.
And how much control do we have in breaking free from those burdens?
That's a powerful question.
It is.
And one that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Regardless of their background.
For sure.
So how does the film go about exploring this complex theme?
Well, it seems like Eisenberg uses the cousins to show us two very different ways of processing trauma. David's almost in denial while it's right there on the surface for Benji.
Yeah.
And the supporting characters add another layer to this, like their tour guide, played by Will Sharp.
Okay.
There's a fellow traveler, played by Jennifer Grey. And even a Rwandan genocide survivor.
Wow.
Played by Kurt Adjiwan.
So we're not just looking at the Holocaust then.
No.
We're seeing how trauma can echo across different cultures and historical events.
Exactly. It broadens the scope, you know, and suggests that even though the events are different, the scars and the struggles to cope are universal.
It makes you think about how this film, A Real Pain,
right,
resonates with audiences, especially now with rising anti-Semitism globally.
It's definitely a reflection of real anxieties.
This film isn't just entertainment.
No.
It's tapping into something much deeper.
Like a collective unease, that feeling that history might be repeating itself.
Yeah, and by showing these characters, these flawed characters grappling with their heritage, it makes us examine our own biases.
Absolutely.
The review also talks about how Eisenberg uses humor, often dark and unexpected humor, to navigate these sensitive topics.
It's a key element for sure.
And it acts like a pressure valve almost, releasing tension, allowing us to process these difficult emotions.
Without being overwhelmed.
Exactly, like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about that scene.
Which one?
The one where Benji has a meltdown on the train.
Oh, right.
Because he can't get first-class seats.
During a Holocaust tour?
Yeah. It seems almost disrespectful at first.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's more to it.
Oh, there's definitely more to it.
What do you think?
Well, on the surface, it's shocking, but it reveals a lot about Benji's internal struggle, Here he is on this trip to honor the memory of those who suffered.
Yeah.
And he's fixated on something as trivial as train seating.
It's like a commentary almost on how some people might trivialize the Holocaust. Turning it into this tourist spectacle.
Right.
Instead of really grappling with its significance.
I think it highlights the disconnect between Benji's life and the weight of history.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to reconcile his privileged existence, the suffering of his ancestors.
It makes me wonder if his behavior is a way to deflect from his own guilt.
That's a great point.
Maybe he feels unworthy of joy because of what his family went through.
That speaks to the complexity of generational trauma, how it can show up in these unexpected ways.
Through inappropriate behavior.
Right.
So the film is beautifully shot, emotionally resonant, and it tackles these big themes. But did it win any awards?
It did. It won the Waldo Salt Screenwriting Award at Sundance.
Oh, wow.
Back in 2024.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, especially for a film like this.
Were there any other awards?
Yeah, it was nominated for 2 Oscars in 2025.
Wow.
Best Original Screenplay for Eisenberg.
Okay.
And Best Supporting Actor for Culkin.
Not surprising.
No, not at all.
So those nominations really solidify the film's impact.
They do. They do.
Both critically and culturally. It seems like A Real Pain really sparked some important conversations.
It did.
And beyond the awards,
the
film's impact is in its ability to make us think about our own families.
Right.
And the legacies we carry.
It's like holding up a mirror, asking, how have these events shaped us?
Shaped who we are today.
Deep questions. They are.
I'm sure our listeners thinking about them right now.
I hope so.
Before we wrap up, what
are
your final thoughts on the review?
What stood out to me was the analysis of how A Real Pain balances humor and tragedy, the way it handles that balance. Yeah. It's not easy to make a film about the Holocaust.
Right.
That also has moments of laughter.
It's a tough thing to get, right?
It is. It's a real tightrope walk, but the review explains how Eisenberg pulls it off. By using humor as a coping mechanism, he lets us face that darkness, without being completely swallowed by it.
It's like that quote.
Which one?
You know the one by Viktor Frankl?
Oh, yeah.
About humor being a weapon for self-preservation.
Yeah, right.
It seems like Eisenberg gets that.
He does.
That sometimes laughter can help us be resilient.
Absolutely. And the review also points out how the film doesn't avoid the complexities of Jewish identity today.
It's not just about the past, right?
No, it's about what it means to be Jewish now.
Yeah.
With everything that comes with it.
Especially with anti-Semitism rising around the world. This film feels so relevant.
It really does. It reminds us that the past is still echoing in the present.
And it challenges us about how we respond to that.
As individuals and as a society.
Right.
How do we honor the memory of what happened without letting it define us?
That's a powerful question to end on.
It is.
It seems like A Real Pain is more than just a film.
Definitely.
It's something that makes you really think.
And starts conversations.
Yeah, as we wrap up our deep dive into this film, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay.
Think about your own family's story.
Yeah.
The stories that have been passed down, the events that have shaped your family's identity.
Right.
How do those experiences affect your life today? Maybe A Real Pain will inspire you to explore those questions further.